Hi, I'm Allison McCowan, and I have the extreme honor and challenge of introducing Caroline Ciaramitaro. I could spend this time listing off her various achievements, but honestly, that would not reflect the Caroline that I have been fortunate enough to get to know. Caroline is funny, quirky, and kind. Through our shared looks in math when something funny happens, and our concerned discussions about what clothing people wear in college, I have gotten to see both the limitless humor and kindness of Caroline. Now, I have to clear the record about Caroline. Despite all the rumors, she is indeed a human. Her hair is not from some alien land, but is actually the result of a very intense and involved diva curl routine that I'm sure she can tell you all about. Her never-ending energy is not from a mysterious power source, but is instead the result of maintained by gallons of coffee. And finally, she, like everyone else on this planet, does not have everything together, even though it may seem like it all the time. So now, for the moment you've all been waiting for, I give you the one and only 100% human Caroline Elizabeth Ciaramitaro.
There I sat, on that third green seat, with a half-gone latte, a copy of King Lear in my lap, and a Quizlet of Chinese vocab on my screen, more consciously aware than ever before. It was Tuesday, and I was at church. Church is Muddy's, the bungalow turned coffee shop on the corner of Cooper and Vinton. The textbooks and notes I scrutinize every afternoon here are my scripture. The latte, my Eucharist, and the conversation, my gospel. That sense of purpose my Catholic grandfather finds in the pews every Sunday morning, I find here. Now, this is different from how I used to spend my afternoons. It used to be that the 10 minutes I spent sipping my latte meant 10 minutes behind task, which meant 2 more minutes spent rearranging my desktop sticky note schedule to reflect this disruption. The additional 4 minutes talking to someone across the booth meant frivolous chatter, bringing the total to 16 minutes behind, the equivalent of an entire AP Stat homework worksheet. Now, it wasn't that I just obsessed over time and schedules. I thought a lot too. I learned how to construct chi-squared in a Penance test, memorized and recited Canterbury Tales prologue, and solved for cosine more times than could ever be considered necessary. I also talked a lot. I talked about novels, weekend plans, future aspirations, anything someone would listen to. It was a lot of thinking and talking, good thinking and talking, yet still subconscious, a default setting. I was thinking because someone told me to analyze, writing because it was an assignment, and memorizing because I knew I'd be tested the next morning. Talking because I'm a fiery and headstrong extrovert, because that's what I've always done, because people expected it. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but imagining myself still functioning on autopilot past junior year, or past college, or past my first job, or right all the way up to my funeral, accepting that reality started to scare me. And so then, one Thursday night, during a pause between rhetorical analysis prep and ACT practice, Josie Campbell shoved the poem Love After Love by Derek Walcott across that green booth. It should be noted that this was not the first time Josie had attempted to distract me with poetry or political thought or her own personal existential crisis, but this was the first time I let her. I took a breath and read the poem. It told me to close the Quizlet tab, put my math binder back in my backpack, and do something just to do it. Walcott says, sit, feast on your life. This moment might seem trivial, but I mean it when I say that this was the first time I had heard those words and really understood what they meant. I sat. I had an experience with poetry that didn't end in a nonsensical, probably inaccurate analysis of its meter and imagery, and instead, I took what I needed from those words. I listened to what they were saying, and to this day, every night at my own personal church, I worship those last lines. Sit, feast on your life. David Foster Wallace, in his essay, This is Water, says, learning how to think really means learning how to exercise some control over how and what you think. It is the act of consciously deciding what has meaning and what doesn't. Wallace argues that there's a lot we can choose to pay attention to obsess over, and ultimately to worship. So that night, and every night following, I choose to feast. It was in this coffee-traced, pastel-trimmed building that I realized there is so much more to worship than sticky notes and schedules and Socratic themes. I realized I can choose to worship awareness, worship intentionality. I gained control through choice, and I began to worship a little deeper the things that used to just be. The everyday moments that are too insignificant to be recorded in history, but too monumental to go unappreciated. So I continued on consciously. I sat on that green booth, looked up at the people around me, and for the first time saw what they could teach me. I saw people and conversation and connection. I saw questions asked and answers given. I saw experiences shared, memories made, and relationships built. I witnessed a once secular shop become a sacred home. I love Muddy's for their coffee and for their toffee bars, but that's not really why this place matters to me. I choose to see this simple coffee shop as more than a place to drink a latte and check things off my to-do list. I make Muddy's sacred. Those moments, both insignificant and equally monumental, they are what encompass a life not on autopilot. They are what teach you what it means to be human. Now, I'm talking because I have something to say, listening because I want to hear, and choosing to grow because I need to, because that's what it means to be human. I'm now embracing those 16 minutes of AP stat lost to casual conversation because that's what I learned at church. To sit, to feast on my life, day after day after day, and every day after that. And to my class of 2018, we are about to do something terrifying, bold, incredible, and so very important. And no matter if we choose to continue these lives we know, or we choose to create new ones, or maybe we just choose to adopt a few new pieces and places and people, I hope that they are truly that. Lives we choose. Day in, day out, they are our choice. And in 2 months, or 20 years, and all the days in between, we live them. Every day, day by day, we sit and feast on our lives. Thank you.